Hey everyone! Welcome back to Love English Lab. I'm Megan, and I'm really happy you're here today because we're talking about something every learner needs, something that shows confidence, personality, and real communication. How to describe yourself in English.
And I'm Luna. I love this topic because it's something we all do, no matter our level. Introducing yourself is not just saying your name or your job. It's about showing who you are, what matters to you, and how you see the world.
Exactly. And many learners feel unsure about it. They think they have to use complicated vocabulary or sound perfect, but real English is much simpler and much more human.
Yes. Sometimes learners say things like, I am a person who likes, or I am very friendly in my personality, because they want to sound formal. But describing yourself in natural English is actually much easier. You just need the right rhythm and the right phrases.
And once you master these expressions, conversations feel smoother. You speak more confidently in job interviews, in classes, in meetings, or even when you meet someone new at a cafe.
Absolutely. And describing yourself is not only about facts like age, job, or nationality. It's also about your habits, your interests, your personality, your values, and your dreams. All of that creates a picture of who you are.
And I think what learners really want is flexibility. They don't want to memorize a script. They want to express themselves naturally, depending on the moment.
That's so true. Sometimes you need a short, simple introduction. Other times, you want to share a little more. And sometimes you want to show your personality, your energy, your humor, your passions.
Yes, and today, we're going to show all of that. You'll hear how to talk about your personality without sounding robotic, how to describe your habits without long explanations, and how to express your interests in a natural, friendly way.
And we'll also show how to avoid that feeling of, I don't know what to say next, which many learners experience when describing themselves, because English has small expressions that help the conversation flow.
Exactly. For example, phrases like, I'm the kind of person who, or something important about me is, make your description sound natural and confident.
Yes, and you'll hear us model them in real conversation so you can copy the rhythm and the tone.
Another important part is honesty. Many learners try to sound impressive, but the best introductions are simple and real.
Definitely. If you're calm, say you're calm. If you're energetic, say it. If you love cooking or reading or traveling, talk about it. People connect with sincerity, not perfection.
And describing yourself in English is more than communication. It's self-awareness. When you choose words for your personality, you understand yourself better.
Yes, and that's powerful. So today we'll explore how to talk about who you are in a way that feels natural, confident, and true to you.
I'm excited for this one. Let's start with something simple. How to introduce yourself in a natural, friendly way.
Sounds great. Let's begin. So Megan, when learners think about describing themselves, the very first step is usually the introduction. But many people still feel nervous, even at an advanced level.
Yes, I hear that a lot. They say things like, I never know what to start with, or I feel like my introduction sounds boring. But the truth is, introductions in English don't need to be complicated. They just need to feel natural.
Exactly. Some learners memorize long sentences, like, my name is Maria, and I am 28 years old, and I come from Brazil, and I work as an engineer. It's fine, but it sounds mechanical.
Right. It feels like reading a form. But when native speakers introduce themselves, they keep it simple and conversational. For example, hey, I'm Megan. I'm from Canada, and I'm a content creator. Short, clear, friendly.
Yes. And the rhythm matters more than the information. You can share the same facts, but if you break them into natural pieces, it sounds much better. Like, I'm Luna, I'm from Spain, and I teach English online.
Exactly. And learners should remember that they don't have to include everything at once. A good introduction is like the beginning of a story. You share just enough to start a conversation.
For example, instead of giving your age or your whole biography, you can share one detail that invites the other person to ask more. Something like, I'm a nurse, and I really enjoy working with kids. Or, I'm a designer, and I love creating things.
I love that approach. It sounds confident because you're not trying too hard. You're just showing a small part of who you are.
And another thing many learners forget is that tone makes a big difference. If you sound tense, your introduction feels tense. But if you smile, even if the other person can't see you, your voice changes.
Absolutely. When you smile, your energy becomes warmer and your introduction feels more natural. It's such a small thing, but it helps so much in English.
Another tip is choosing the right length. In casual moments, a short introduction is perfect. Something like, "Hi, I'm Luna. I'm from Madrid." Simple.
Yes, and if the conversation continues, you add more details naturally. You don't have to plan everything in advance.
But if you're in a formal situation, like a work interview or a presentation, you can extend it a little. Something like, "My name is Luna Garcia. I'm originally from Spain, and I specialize in online education."
Yes, and notice how even that extended version stays clear and calm. No long sentences, no complicated structures.
Another thing that helps learners sound more natural is connecting their introduction to the moment. For example, "I'm excited to be here," or "I'm happy to join this group." It shows confidence and friendliness.
I love that. It makes the introduction feel alive. For example, if you're in a class, you can say, "I'm Megan. I'm from Canada, and I'm looking forward to practicing English with everyone."
Exactly. It's an introduction plus a small emotional connection.
And learners sometimes ask, "Should I talk about my age?" In English, it's not always necessary. People rarely start with age unless it's relevant.
Yes, cultural difference. In many places, age is part of the normal introduction. But in English-speaking cultures, it's optional. You can share it later if it fits the conversation.
Another question we get is about names. Some learners use their full legal name every time, and it sounds too formal. You can simply use the name you prefer.
Yes. You can say, "I'm Ana," even if your full name is Ana Maria Gonzalez Lopez. Keep it simple.
Let's model a few natural introductions so listeners can hear the rhythm. Luna, introduce yourself casually.
Sure. "Hey, I'm Luna. I'm from Madrid, and I teach English online. I really enjoy meeting people from different countries." See? Simple, friendly, smooth.
Exactly. Now I'll do one. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from Toronto. I create English learning content, and I love helping people feel confident with their communication.
And here's something even more important. Your introduction should reflect your personality. If you're energetic, let that energy appear. If you're calm, keep your introduction gentle.
Yes, describing yourself isn't only about information. It's about emotion and style. You want people to feel who you are, not just hear the facts.
Another useful detail is adding a small hobby or interest. It helps the conversation grow. For example, "I'm Luna, I live in Madrid, and I love hiking on weekends."
Yes, because it gives the other person something to respond to. They might say, "Oh, I love hiking too." And suddenly, you have a conversation.
That's how introductions work in real life. They're invitations, not speeches.
Exactly. And as learners practice this rhythm, short ideas, warm tone, natural flow, they begin to feel more confident describing themselves in any situation.
And now that we explored introductions, I think the next step is personality. How to describe who you are in a way that sounds natural and not too formal.
I agree. Let's talk about that next. So Luna, describing personality is one of those moments where learners really freeze. They know the words, but they don't know how to say them in a natural way.
Yes, they usually jump to very basic adjectives like, "I am friendly," "I am shy," or "I am hardworking." Those are perfectly fine, but English allows more color and more nuance if you use the right expressions.
And sometimes learners feel uncomfortable describing themselves because they don't want to sound arrogant.
Exactly. But the truth is, talking about your personality isn't bragging, it's just sharing who you are. And English has soft, gentle expressions that make it feel comfortable.
One of my favorites is, "I'm the kind of person who..." It's so natural. Instead of saying "I'm patient," you can say, "I'm the kind of person who stays calm, even in stressful situations."
I love that one too. It feels honest and relaxed. You're not standing there saying, "Look at me, I'm amazing." You're simply describing a behavior.
Exactly. And another soft expression is, "People say I'm..." It lets you describe yourself through other people's eyes, which feels less direct.
Yes. For example, people say I'm creative, or people say I'm easy to talk to. It's a great way to share personality without sounding too strong.
Another nice phrase is, I would say I'm. It gives space. It shows humility. Something like, I would say I'm organized, but I try to stay flexible. Very natural.
I like that one because it gives room for imperfection. English speakers love balance. They never describe themselves in extremes.
Yes. If you say, I'm always positive, it sounds unrealistic. But if you say, I try to stay positive, it sounds human.
Here's another great one. One thing about me is, it works like a warm introduction to your personality. For example, one thing about me is that I love helping people. Or, one thing about me is that I learn fast.
And it's so flexible. You can use it with personality traits, habits, preferences, anything.
Another thing learners worry about is negative traits. They don't know how to say them without sounding harsh.
Right. But English has gentle ways to express weaknesses. For example, instead of saying, I'm disorganized, you can say, I'm not always the most organized person, but I'm working on it.
Yes. Or instead of saying, I'm shy, you can say, I'm a little quiet at first, but once I feel comfortable, I open up.
That one sounds so natural. You're not labeling yourself, you're describing your process.
Exactly. And personality is not about fixed labels. It's about how you behave and how you interact with the world.
Let's model a short, natural exchange. Luna, how would you describe your personality?
I'd probably say something like, I'm the kind of person who likes calm environments. I enjoy listening more than talking at first, but once I connect with someone, I become very warm. See? Nothing complicated, nothing dramatic.
I love that. And if I describe myself, I might say, people say I'm pretty energetic. I enjoy motivating others, and I like keeping things positive when I can. Simple, conversational, real.
Exactly. And learners can use this pattern in any situation: jobs, friendships, classes, interviews.
Another helpful tip is using contrasts. For example, I'm organized but not rigid, or I'm independent, but I enjoy teamwork. It sounds balanced and mature.
Yes. English speakers often describe themselves with contrast because it shows self-understanding. It feels natural.
Another useful expression is, I tend to be calm under pressure, or I tend to ask a lot of questions. It softens the description.
And it shows patterns without making absolute statements.
Exactly. And advanced learners can add emotional color too. For example, I get excited about new projects, or I feel comfortable leading a small group.
Yes, using feelings and personality descriptions makes them more vivid.
Now, some learners ask, should I describe myself with many adjectives? And the answer is, not really. 1 or 2 adjectives are enough. The magic is in the examples and the expressions around them.
Yes. Instead of, I am creative, responsible, friendly, flexible, dedicated, which sounds like reading a CV, you can choose one trait and expand it.
Exactly. For example, I consider myself responsible. I like finishing what I start, and I pay attention to details.
That sounds natural, and someone listening to you thinks, okay, I understand who you are.
And it gives the other person something to respond to. They can say, oh, what kinds of projects do you like? Or, how do you stay organized? And the conversation grows.
Personality in English is about connection, not performance.
Yes, and when learners start using these softer expressions, I'm the kind of person who people say I would say I'm, their English becomes much more natural instantly.
Totally. And now that we explored personality, I think the next chapter should be about something just as important, talking about your interests and hobbies without sounding like a list.
Yes, hobbies can sound boring if learners just say, I like reading, I like sports, I like music. But there's a better way.
Exactly. Let's dive into that next.
So Luna, another big part of describing yourself is talking about your interests, but a lot of learners feel stuck here. They usually say, I like music, or I like sports. And then the conversation just ends.
Yes, that's so true. Those sentences are correct, but they don't show anything interesting about you. They're too short, too general, and they don't invite a response.
Exactly. In natural English, when people talk about hobbies, they don't just name the activity. They add a small detail that gives it personality.
Yes. For example, instead of I like music, you can say, I like relaxing with music in the evenings, or I really enjoy discovering new artists. It creates a picture, not just a label.
I love that. And it's such a simple trick. Add one extra detail. Not a long story, just a detail. For example, I like reading becomes I like reading mystery books at night.
Exactly. That one detail turns a boring statement into something personal and interesting.
Another thing learners can do is use more natural expressions, like I'm really into or I enjoy. They sound friendlier and more conversational.
Yes, I'm really into hiking, or I enjoy cooking on weekends. Those phrases sound so natural because that's how native speakers talk.
Let's model it. Luna, what's something you're into?
I'd probably say, I'm really into photography. I love taking pictures when I travel. See? Short, simple, but more engaging.
Exactly. If I were talking about one of my interests, I might say, I enjoy running in the mornings. It helps me clear my mind. Again, it's personal, but not too long.
And that's the key. You don't need big stories. Just one extra detail makes your hobby come alive.
Another great expression is, in my free time, I like to. It's soft, natural, and it fits almost any situation.
Yes. For example, in my free time, I like to watch documentaries. Or in my free time, I like to try new recipes.
And learners should remember that hobbies don't have to be exciting. You don't need to say you travel every month or do extreme sports. Simple hobbies are totally okay.
Exactly. You can say, I like quiet mornings with coffee, or I enjoy organizing my home, or I love long walks in the park. These are everyday activities, but they still show who you are.
And sometimes the best way to talk about hobbies is through emotions. Instead of saying what you do, say why you enjoy it.
Yes. For example, I enjoy yoga because it helps me relax, or I like drawing because it makes me feel creative. Sharing the reason makes the hobby sound deeper and more meaningful.
And it gives the listener something to connect with. They can say, oh, I also use yoga to relax. Or, I love creative hobbies too.
Another natural way to talk about interests is using frequency words. For example, I cook almost every day, or I play guitar once in a while.
Yes, it sounds realistic. Not too much, not too little.
Here's another small trick advanced learners forget: variety. Instead of repeating, I like, you can change the structure. For example, I'm into, I enjoy, I love. One of my favorite things is, it helps me. It makes me feel.
Exactly. These variations create a natural flow and avoid repetition.
And one thing I always tell learners is this: hobbies are a great chance to show personality. Your hobbies are not just activities, they're windows into your life.
Yes, if someone says, I like cooking, I don't really know much about them. But if they say, I enjoy cooking because it reminds me of my childhood, that tells a story.
Exactly. And we don't need to tell long stories, just a little glimpse.
Let's model a natural conversation about hobbies to help learners hear the rhythm.
Sure. Ask me about something I enjoy.
Okay, so Luna, what do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I love exploring new cafes. I enjoy quiet spaces where I can relax and read a little. What about you?
I really enjoy running. It helps me feel clear and focused. And on weekends, I like trying new recipes. It's fun and a little therapeutic.
See, that kind of conversation feels real. Not too long, not too short.
And the expressions we used are easy for learners to copy.
Another thing I want to mention is that hobbies don't need to sound impressive. You don't need to say you paint every day or play 5 instruments. Be honest. Be yourself.
Yes. And if you don't have a strong hobby, you can talk about something simple like watching movies or spending time with your family. That's part of who you are.
Exactly. And that's the message. Talking about your interests is not about showing off. It's about connecting.
And now that we covered hobbies, I think the next step is learning how to describe your daily habits, the things you do regularly that show your lifestyle.
Yes, daily habits say so much about a person. Let's explore that next.
So Luna, now that we've talked about personality and hobbies, the next important part of describing yourself is your daily habits. These small routines show a lot about who you are.
Yes, totally. And many learners forget this. They focus on big things like, I'm friendly or I like movies, but lifestyle habits make your description feel real and complete.
Right. And habits don't need to be perfect or impressive. You don't need to say you wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Just be honest and simple.
Exactly. A very natural way to talk about habits is with phrases like, I usually, I tend to, or I try to. These expressions show routine without sounding too rigid.
Yes. For example, instead of saying, I wake up early, you could say, I usually wake up early because I like starting the day quietly. It's gentle, natural, and it adds personality.
And it sounds real. Someone else might say, I tend to stay up late, or I try to walk every day. These are very flexible and very common in everyday English.
Another great expression is, most days, like, most days I drink tea in the morning, or most days I take a short walk after lunch.
Yes, I love that one. It's soft but clear. It doesn't mean every single day, but it still sounds like part of your normal routine.
A big mistake learners make is describing habits like a checklist. I wake up at 7, I eat breakfast, I go to work. That sounds more like instructions than a conversation.
Yes, exactly. Instead, you can combine habits with emotion or purpose. For example, I like having slow mornings when I can, or I try to take breaks during work to clear my mind.
Yes, adding emotion makes your English sound natural and human.
And learners shouldn't forget that lifestyle isn't only about daily tasks, it can also include general tendencies. Things like, I'm someone who likes planning ahead, or I prefer quiet evenings at home.
Yes, that's such a good point. These phrases tell people how you live, not just what you do.
And they're flexible. You can say, I'm the kind of person who needs a little time alone every day, or I'm someone who enjoys staying active.
Those expressions really help paint a picture of your personality through your lifestyle.
Let's model it. Megan, how would you describe a part of your daily routine in a natural way?
I might say, I usually start my day with a short run. It helps me wake up and feel focused. Simple, emotional, and easy to understand.
Exactly. And for me, I might say, most nights I like reading a little before bed. It helps me relax. See? Clear, personal, but not too long.
Another great phrase is, I make time for example, I make time for meditation, or I make time for my family.
Yes, it shows what you prioritize in your life, and that says a lot about who you are.
Lifestyle also includes social habits. Some people might say, I enjoy quiet weekends, or I love meeting friends for coffee.
Exactly. Or you can say, I try to stay connected with friends, even when I'm busy. It's natural, honest, and very relatable.
Another common expression is, I'm working on. This is great for describing goals or habits you're trying to improve.
Yes. For example, I'm working on waking up earlier, or I'm working on eating healthier. It shows growth and self-awareness.
And it's a perfect way to express something you want to change, without sounding negative.
Yes, you're not saying, I'm bad at this. You're saying, I'm improving this part of my life.
There's also another angle, energy levels. People often say things like, I'm a morning person, or I'm more productive at night. These phrases aren't just habits. They describe your natural rhythm.
Yes, they give such a clear idea of who you are. If you say, I'm a morning person, people understand your lifestyle right away.
And if you say, I'm not a morning person, that also says a lot.
Another great trick is combining habits with identity. For example, I'm someone who needs structure in my day, or I'm someone who enjoys spontaneous plans.
Yes, that's a very advanced and natural way to describe yourself, connecting what you do with who you are.
And learners shouldn't worry about sounding perfect. The goal is clarity and connection.
Exactly. You don't need complicated grammar to describe your lifestyle. You just need simple, honest sentences that feel real.
Before we move to the next chapter, I think learners should remember one important thing. Your habits don't define your worth. They just help people understand your rhythm.
Yes, and describing them clearly helps you sound natural and confident when talking about yourself.
So now that we've talked about personality, hobbies, and daily habits, it's time to bring everything together.
Yes, in the next part, we'll show learners how to combine all these elements into a smooth, natural self-introduction.
something they can use in real conversations, interviews, or social situations.
Let's guide them step by step. So, Luna, we've talked about personality, interests, and daily habits. Now let's bring everything together and show learners how to create a self-introduction that sounds natural and confident.
Yes, I love this part, because many learners want a perfect script. But the truth is, a good self-introduction is flexible. It's more like a small collection of ideas you can mix, depending on the situation.
Exactly. You don't need to memorize one long paragraph. You can create a few simple sentences about who you are, what you enjoy, and how you live, and then just put them together.
Yes. And the key is to keep it conversational, not robotic. Instead of sounding like you're reading from a textbook, you want to sound like you're talking to a real person.
Let's start breaking it down. The first part is usually something basic, your name, and maybe where you're from. Something simple like, my name is Megan, and I'm from Texas.
Yes. And then you can add a personality phrase, something like, I'm someone who enjoys peaceful environments, or I'm the kind of person who loves meeting new people.
Exactly. That alone makes your introduction sound more alive.
Then you can talk about your interests. But remember, add one detail. Instead of I like cooking, say, I enjoy cooking on weekends because it helps me relax.
Yes. That little detail gives your listeners something to connect with.
And after your hobbies, you can talk about your lifestyle habits. For example, I usually start my mornings with coffee, or most evenings I like going for a walk.
And if you want to sound even more natural, you can add a sentence with your values or preferences. Something like, I try to stay positive, or I enjoy simple routines.
Yes, that's the part that makes your introduction sound complete. You're not just listing facts, you're showing your way of living.
Let's model a natural introduction, so learners can hear the rhythm. Luna, why don't you start?
Sure. I might say, my name is Luna and I grew up in a small town. I'm someone who enjoys creative spaces and calm moments. In my free time, I love exploring cafes because I like discovering cozy places. Most days, I try to take a short walk to clear my mind. I'd say I'm the kind of person who enjoys simple routines and good conversations. See? It's short but full of personality.
That's perfect. And it doesn't sound memorized. It flows like a real conversation.
Exactly. Now, Megan, let's hear one from you.
I'd probably say something like, my name is Megan, and I'm from a big city. I'm someone who loves connecting with people and learning new things. In my free time, I enjoy running because it helps me feel focused. Most evenings, I like reading a little to relax. I'm the kind of person who enjoys productive mornings and quiet nights. Simple, smooth, and personal.
Yes. And the great thing is, learners can create their own version using the same structure.
Right. So let's break down the structure one more time. Name plus basic background. Personality phrase. I'm someone who. Hobby with a detail. Lifestyle habit. Preference or value.
Yes. And learners can add or remove parts depending on the situation. If it's a formal introduction, they can keep it shorter. If it's casual, they can add a little more.
And here's something important. They shouldn't worry about sounding perfect. A natural introduction is better than a complicated one.
Yes. Clarity is more powerful than complexity. Simple sentences spoken confidently sound more fluent than advanced vocabulary spoken nervously.
Another thing learners should remember is that self-introductions can change, depending on context. At work, you might talk more about your skills. With friends, you might talk more about your hobbies.
Exactly, you're describing yourself, not following a strict template.
And speaking of that, another great tip is to prepare 2 or 3 different versions. A short one, a medium one, and a slightly longer one.
Yes, that way you're never stuck. You can adapt quickly depending on the moment.
And it also gives you confidence. When you already have the structure in your mind, you don't panic when someone says, "Tell me about yourself."
Yes, you simply choose the version that fits the situation.
Before we finish this chapter, let's give learners a few natural expressions they can use to sound smoother.
Great idea. One useful phrase is, I'd say I'm. This helps you describe your personality without sounding too strong.
Yes. Another one is, I guess you could say, that's perfect for softening your statements.
And there's also, I tend to. which is helpful for describing habits.
These small expressions make your English sound relaxed and confident.
Exactly. They show that you're thinking in English, not translating word by word.
And that's the whole point of describing yourself, showing who you are in a natural, comfortable way.
Yes. And I think we're ready to move into our final reflection.
Let's wrap it all up and remind learners how powerful it is to talk about themselves confidently. You know, Luna, after talking through all these parts, personality, interests, habits, and lifestyle, I realized something important. Describing yourself isn't just about English. It's really about understanding who you are.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of learners feel nervous when someone asks, "Tell me about yourself," because they don't know what to say. But once you break it into simple pieces, it becomes much easier.
Exactly. You don't need a perfect answer. You just need a clear one. A few sentences about your personality, a hobby with a small detail, maybe one lifestyle habit. That's already a great introduction.
And I love that idea of small details. They make such a big difference. Just one detail can turn a basic sentence into something real and memorable.
Right. Saying, "I like reading" is fine, but saying, "I like reading mystery books at night because it relaxes me" sounds natural and personal. It helps people feel connected to you.
And that's what communication really is: connection. When you describe yourself honestly, even in simple English, people feel like they can relate to you.
Yes. And I think learners sometimes forget that fluency isn't about using big words. It's about expressing your real life in a clear, comfortable way.
Exactly. English becomes easier when you stop trying to sound perfect and start trying to sound like yourself.
And that's why describing yourself is such an important skill. It shows confidence, it shows self-awareness, and it makes every conversation smoother.
Yes. And it helps you build stronger relationships, whether you're meeting someone for the first time, doing an interview, or just chatting with a friend.
And here's something powerful. The more you practice talking about yourself, the more comfortable you become speaking English in general.
Yes, because you're talking about things you already know, your habits, your interests, your personality. There's no pressure to remember facts or difficult vocabulary.
And the more natural you sound when talking about yourself, the more fluent you'll feel in every other part of the language.
Another thing I want learners to remember is that your self-introduction can grow with you. As your life changes, your English naturally changes too.
That's a great point. Maybe today you say, "I'm working on waking up earlier," and a year later you say, "I usually start my day early now." Your English grows with your habits.
Yes. And that's the beauty of language. It moves with your life. It doesn't stay still.
And it's okay to have different versions of your self-introduction. A short one for quick situations, and a longer one for deeper conversations.
Yes. What matters is that you feel comfortable. Confidence grows when you know you always have something natural to say.
And I hope learners feel exactly that after this episode. Prepared, confident, and ready to describe themselves without fear.
Me too. And I hope they remember that English is not about performing. It's about sharing who you are.
Yes, and when you speak from that place, you don't just speak English, you connect with people through English.
That's the real goal: connection, confidence, and communication.
Thank you to everyone listening. We hope this helps you talk about yourself with more ease and more authenticity.
Yes. And remember, your story matters. Your habits, your interests, your personality, these things make you unique. Don't be afraid to express them.
We'll see you next time on Love English Lab.
And until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep speaking with confidence.